Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon. As always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. And this week we've got a Princess Alliance Destiny banner featuring Kaguya, Rozenciel, and Clarett. The banner will run from December 15th to the 28th, and as a Destiny banner, your first SSR is guaranteed to be one of the on-banner featured units you don't already have. After you pop that first SSR, or if you already have all 3 units, it's treated like a normal rate up with a 20% off-banner rate. Some of you may have noticed that I phoned it in last week. Well, this week I'm going one step further and literally phoning a friend. Cecil H is a prominent Apex Arena player who adopted Kaguya into his box very early. These unheralded and relatively underused heroes really deserve a voice who has experience with them, so without further ado, here is one of those voices.
Hi guys, I'm Cecil H, and I'll be giving an overview of one of my favourite characters, Kaguya, who I use in both PvE and PvP content. So to get right into things, Kaguya is a long-range mage who specialises in both single target and AoE magic, being extremely capable at doing both. The interesting part of Kaguya comes from her talent. At 6 star, she gains a bonus 20% int when within 3 blocks of an ally, and spawns 4 cards which count as terrain effects that randomly spawn within 2 rings of Kaguya. These cards will either be boar, deer, or butterfly, and you will need to collect them to fully utilize her skill set. In order to use these cards collected, you need her unique 1-cost sleeved card skill, which has 3 effects to choose from. Firstly, there's Tensaku, which consumes a pair of either deer, boar, or butterfly, and after dealing damage will generate 1 random card. Secondly, there's Tane, which consumes 1 of each card and increases damage up by 20%, and increases equipment resonance effects up to 100%. So this means that enchant effects like Clock or Breeze will always be guaranteed to happen post-combat. Personally, my recommendation on enchantments is Clock, just because a lot of her skills have 5-turn cooldowns, so this in combination with the 5-turn cooldown ability means you will always have it available. Lastly, there's Hikari, which consumes 3 of 1 type of card, which gives Kaguya an aura that increases the chances of equipment resonant effects happening by 20%, so this makes it 20% more likely for your allies to proc Thorns, or Ice, or Breeze, or Clock. These are all abilities that have percentage-based chances to activate. So, for example, Thorns being a 30% chance to activate during combat, will now be a 50% chance to activate during combat. Furthermore, activating any of these effects will also provide Kaguya with a +2 unit range buff, and when using this 1-cost effect, buffs do not decrease in duration, and she will also act again, so you can use the 1-cost, choose one of the 3 effects, and then proceed to use a damaging skill against an enemy. She also has access to skills such as Heaven Sanction, Black Hole, and Arcane Blast, which are all 5-turn cooldown abilities, and as I was saying previously, you definitely want to enchant Clock on Kaguya, in tandem with the Tane effect, which is the second effect, so you can constantly throw out AoEs, or single target skills. She has access to Cleanse and Fireball, and a unique 2-cost skill, which increases crit chance by 50%, and also heals Kaguya for 50% of the damage dealt during combat. So in the next major update, she is also getting a unique, which increases HP by 10% and lets Kaguya start with 2 random cards and makes the +2 unit range effect from sleeve card undispellable, which is really useful. It also has the ability for every card consumed will also increase her crit chance by 1%, capping at 10%. So her unique is actually very good. It lets you start off with 2 cards, which means you don't start off quite as slow, meaning you will generally only have to collect 1 card to be active, meaning she can go right off the bat rather than spending a turn collecting multiple cards. So Kaguya is a part of 3 factions. She's in Princess Alliance, buffed by Christiane, Luna, and Shafaniel, Mythical Realm, buffed by Sage of the Trees, and Gizaroth, and she is in Strategic Masters, buffed by Ultimuller, Lanford, and in the future, Grenshell. It should also be noted that she has a Holy class, so she can also be buffed by the newly released Lightbringer. For bonds, she is not required for anyone's bonds. For her own bonds, she requires Sissy White, and Azusa. For general purpose PvE, she is fine, if not a little slow until her unique is out. She can work as your main primary magic DPS, though there are faster and potentially better options such as Langrisser or Tejas for most PvE content. You won't really find her in any high-scoring Ancient Beckoning team comps due to her slow start, and there just being better options. And in PvP, she works primarily in tank push only comps, which can compensate for her slow start. Again, this will be alleviated a little bit with her unique coming out. She also has minimum 7 effective range with 3 movement, 4 range with the +2 range from her sleeved card. This can also be increased to 8 effective range if you use Scepter of Divinity, increasing her unit range by 1 when not on defensive terrain. One of the better aspects for her in PvP is that she has good survivability compared to most mages, thanks to her access to Shrine Maidens, and her 3C, which gives 20% damage reduction post-combat, meaning you can build for her to live through things like assassins quite easily, if you build appropriately, so you'll need gear such as fixed damage immunity, so you can always maintain your Shrine Maiden threshold. The interesting thing about Shrine Maidens is that Kaguya also has a very high kill potential even when using Shrine Maidens. She has a ridiculous amount of damage. She also has access to troops like Fairies and Zorks and Firebrands, and not dealing with units that can avoid tanks, and she also has the ability to disable tanks with her 3C, or spam AoEs, be healerless comps or very specific comps, so you can bring things like Arcane Blast against very heavy Holy or Mage comps, or you can bring Black Hole against healerless comps with no ability to Dispel. She's generally a very strong tank push mage. In other comps she doesn't really work quite so well, she's generally quite a slow unit unfortunately, so my recommendation would be just to play her as a tank push mage, normally as a primary win condition. Thanks for listening. I hope my overview of Kaguya could shed some light for you, and for those pulling, I hope you are able to get her and enjoy her just as much as I do.
Alright, thanks so much, Cecil, for your detailed thoughts. It's really useful to go into a little bit more detail every once in a while. So thanks again, thanks for contributing. Alright, I'll move along now to Rozenciel. Rozenciel is an anti-debuff, anti-AoE healer. When she uses a skill on an ally, she clears a debuff and gives stacks that cancel incoming debuffs. Whenever an ally ends their turn within range of Rozenciel, they also get some healing and an additional stack. Her 3-cost skill heals allies within range and gives them a couple turns of post-battle healing. It also turns Rozenciel into an immobile healing crystal. While she's in this state, she can't move or attack or use skills, but she gets improved healing, increased range for her talent, and she can revive. She's a member of Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna, Shelfaniel, and Christiane, Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and herself, and Mythical Realm, buffed by Gizaroth and the Sage of the Trees. Her buff for Empire's Honor increases damage dealt when you're actively attacking by 12%, and it causes anyone who attacks you to lose a buff before combat. For bonds, she unlocks both the attack and defensive bonds for Clotaire, who also unlocks her attack bond. For her own defensive bond, she needs Lanford. For content in PvE, she's on faction for Leviar and Valkyrie in the Eternal Temple, and Fenrir, Sleipnir, and Nidhogg in Ancient Beckoning. She has been used in top-scoring teams for the latter too, and it's worth mentioning that she's also been useful for certain challenges where she can pretty much trivialize any kind of debuffing mechanic. In PvP, mass debuffs are always dangerous. Even if you're not facing an AoE team, she is a staple in turtle teams because you make your enemy have to work that much harder to break through your tanks. So Rozenciel is still a common early ban. Being able to ignore important one-off debuffs like Cherie or Dehart's stun or Lucretia's 3C means there's always a place for Rozenciel in the team, even if there are better single-target healers. Finally, we have Clarett. Clarett is a highly mobile single-target physical DPS. Her talent stocks up unused movement for your next turn. Her 3-cost skill is basically a fancy version of Roar with some extra effects. She's a member of Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna, Shelfaniel, and Christiane, ELS Legends, buffed by Landius and Sigma, and Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida and Epsilon. For bonds, she unlocks the attack bonds for Werner and Alfred, and she needs Luna for her own defensive bond and Sigma for her own attack bond. For content, in PvE she's on faction for Leviar, Scylla, and Phoenix in the Eternal Temple, and Needhogg and Jormungandr in Ancient Beckoning. On the PvP side, she still has a niche place in some single-target rush boxes, so she's not totally out of the picture in PvP, but she is definitely much less common than she used to be. Alright, let's move along to the notes for noobs. Kaguya is a mechanics-dependent magical DPS who can output a lot of damage at a lot of range, but there are other units who can more or less do this job without having to work quite as hard. Listen to your heart, or Cecil. Rozenciel is a top meta healer, useful for both PvE and PvP, with unique anti-debuff mechanics, and she has a faction buff. If you don't have her already, she's pretty much a must summon on this banner. The only exception is if you're really early in the game and you already have an SSR healer locked up and you're worried about limited resources. Finally, Clarett, whose main use is unlocking the attack bond for Werner. He's still a dangerous assassin in PvP, and obviously he needs his attack bond for that. Finally, just my usual note about upcoming banners. Next week is the final week of this major update cycle, which means we should be getting classic recurring Destiny banners featuring Rachel, Lana, and Tiaris, and Hilda, the Knight of Mystery, and Rainforce, and the requisite Kong's shortcuts. The week after that should be the launch of what was the 4.0 anniversary update in China, even though it's a month early for us. Remember when they changed the order of some banners around last year? What if they'll try something sneaky like that again this year? One thing's for certain, good old Kong isn't going to be re-recording multiple episodes of Should You Summon on the fly while on holidays. Anyway, that's a long way of saying we should be getting the new Zerida and new Lucretia update at the end of the year, with the Lotto for Matthew's SP upgrade stone coming soon after that. The new Zerida is bananas, and Matt is good too, so try to save up something. Anyway, that's it for this episode, so let us know on the Discord or in the comments below if you have a Destiny guarantee on this banner, or if you decided to dip in for some other reason. Kaguya is the only non-collab unit that I don't have yet, so I'll definitely fire off a few summons to try to add her to the collection. Thank you so much for watching, I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon. Extra special thanks, of course, to our Langrisser tier channel members for generously supporting the channel directly. Shout out to Levitt, Derek, Kate Soon, Jared Portela, Jerome Meyer, and Harambe. Thanks so much, everyone.